when will kids in New South Wales go back to school inside classrooms?
Well, look, Peter, that's exactly what we're working through now. And we always said to our schools and parent communities that we wanted to do the at-home learning for the end of term one, which we did. We're now midway through our Easter break. And we're working through what term two will look like. Now, the Premier made it very clear yesterday that she expects that we will return to some form of face-to-face learning, getting kids back into the classroom during term two. At the moment, we're anticipating we'll probably do the first week or two with the home learning, but then move towards some more face-to-face teaching and learning during term two.
So what does that mean? So the first week or two, you'll start to move kids back into school rooms. Are you talking about a staggered start here? There's some suggestion that different grades, students in different grades will go on different days. What's going to be the shape of it?
Yeah, well, that's exactly what we're working through now. So we've always said to parents, we will let you know before term two goes back what to expect. And a range of options are on the table. We know it's important to make sure children continue to have that connection to their school. We know that our home learning systems do work and work well. So we anticipate we'll keep doing the learning from home for the first 2 weeks, but then look at ways that we can reintroduce some face-to-face time. And we need to do it in a way that our parents will be comfortable with, because even before we asked parents to keep their children at home where they could, and while the health advice still remained that schools could stay open, we had close to 40% of parents wanting to keep their children at home anyway. So we need to do this in a way that is in line with expectations of our parents, our teachers and also our students, and that's exactly what we're working through at the moment.
So is that information right, that seniors will probably go back first?
Well, look, as I said, we're working through all of that at the moment. I'm not going to rule anything in or out at this point. We will make it clear to families what we'd like to do, certainly well before school returns. But I'm very conscious of the fact that this is quite a disruptive year for particularly our Year 12 students. We've prioritised them with our devices and at-home learning. We're giving clarity around the HSC. And I think there's a fairly strong argument, particularly for those students needing to have that face-to-face interaction with their teachers.
The Prime Minister said yesterday in a social media post that he wants kids back in school as soon as possible. Are you, or is your state being pressured?
No, look, not at all. I mean, we've always said that we would have the plans in place until the end of term one, and we would use these holidays to reassess. We were clear about that prior to Easter. We share the view that education is important and we want to try to have some sense of normality for kids, but we need to do it in line not only with health advice, but community expectation. We've always said we'd be working towards what term two would look like now, and that's exactly what we're doing. There's no pressure at all.
The union has outlined some concerns for the health of teachers if teachers have to go back. Do you share those concerns?
Look, I think we need to be very cognizant of the fact that we do have some teachers who are a little bit older, who might have some pre-existing health conditions that could make them a bit more susceptible to COVID-19. And what we found towards the end of term, when we did have less students attending, we could give those teachers the option to work from home. And I think that provided a little bit more certainty for them based on their personal health conditions. We know that children don't spread it particularly strongly. That's something that the health advice has come back very clearly to say, but it can still spread between adults. So we need to think about what that means for our teachers, how we can make sure we have a workplace that they feel comfortable in, and also that parents and students are happy to be in as well.
But just on that point, I mean, how do you know that the kids can't spread it? Because, I mean, they haven't been in school, so how would you know?
Well, there's been quite a bit of research that's been happening, and Kerry Chant yesterday referred to some work that they've been doing to look at whether children do play a big role in spreading this. Certainly the health advice so far indicates that that doesn't appear to be the case, and we are speaking to health as part of this. But again, it's about making sure we're in line, not just with the health advice, but community and parent expectations. And I think some parents find it a little bit confusing that their children can go to school, but they can't go to the local park on the weekend. They can't do weekend sport. So how do we sort of find a way through this that parents are comfortable, that they trust the health advice, but we can also make sure that we've got a safe workplace for those who are teaching at our schools?
Okay, so just finally, I mean, for the parents who at the moment are very confused about what to do, what is your message to the parents of kids in New South Wales right now?
Look, our message has always been schools are open for any child who needs to attend. That has always been the case throughout this in New South Wales. So if parents are working, if they don't have proper care options for their children, they can send their children to school when term resumes, as they did at the end of term one. We are still asking parents to keep their children at home where they can, and we anticipate that will be the case for the first couple of weeks. but we will have more clear advice for families, certainly by next week, so that they know what term 2 will look like.
Okay, I was going to ask you that. When will you have an answer for them?
Yeah, look, Peter, working on that now. I'm hoping to have something for them next week so that they've got that time to know. We don't have children back until the 27th of April, so we're still only partway through our holidays. But certainly as a parent, I'd like as much notice as possible, and we want to give that to families in New South Wales as well.
Well, just on that point, I mean, I guess this all comes to the confusion that some parents might be feeling. I mean, the Victorian health officer tweeted last night that my advice to the Victorian government, I know it's a different state, but he says the advice to the Victorian government was and continues to be that to slow the spread of coronavirus, schools should undertake remote learning from term 2. So they're still going down that road. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, look, I think every state has been able to have their own approach to this, and obviously the Victorian government will listen to their Chief Health Officer. We'll speak to ours and Kerry Chant and get that advice from her. I do think some of those comments are quite interesting because it's actually not just about the children at school themselves, but that period of time when they're coming to and from school, what you do at pick up and drop off time where you might have hundreds of people at a school gate. Some of those issues, that's what we're working through in New South Wales at the moment. How can we do this in a way that gives people confidence in our school system and the health and safety of their children, recognising that every state is different. We all run our own unique education systems, and they'll have their own ways of implementing some of these measures, and that's a matter for each state.